Yeah, it's about right. So we're pulling this stuff up out of the weeds so they're not working in the ticks. Gonna break that stuff down, throw it right back in there, let the rabbits have it, and then get the good firewood, what's left of that's good firewood, and either drag the log up or maybe we'll just split it and stack it over here on this side right here. Get it later. But when you have tractors, you don't have to work down those sticks like that. You can pull things up and out. So yeah, he said the reason why they're still in this is because I wanted to make sure my kids have got the good stuff. So anyway, this is the mix of stuff on the quad today. And see, I was gonna say he was gonna get started. And this is the 540, kind of beat up and rough, but it runs extremely well. But I'm not going to run it today because part of the whole saw thing is to run a variety of saws. And of course, there's my insurance policy. That's the 565. How about this one? See, I really think Husky is the company that developed the layout of the modern saw. That's a 1978 61 chassis that I put a different top end on. But if you look at it, it's got bar oil in the case like a modern saw does, a separate tank handle like a modern saw, basically a vertical cylinder layout with a carburetor in the air box underneath the cover like a modern saw. They were the first. They were the first company that had that layout. In late 70s into the early 80s, you know, they developed that, and then in the 90s they came out with the 372, which was way ahead of its time, right? Steel was following with the 038. You know, they did things like external sprocket, internal clutch, stuff like that. You know, the 044, 046 was a game changer. The 372 was as well. And I can tell you that a modern saw, I don't know, you gain some things. Auto tune is a plus, I suppose. Anti-vibe is a plus. But power to weight and ergonomics, yeah, maybe. But these guys here were useful, so we're going to run them today. Alright, so there's a 154. So interestingly enough, the 262 right there, that is a very, very close sibling to the 154, 254 series. They share a lot of the same parts, but they have a significant difference, and that is the length of the rod, the connecting rod from the crankshaft to the wrist pin on the piston. The 262 and 257 have a little longer rod, which means the entire cylinder assembly, all that stuff is a little taller. And that necessitates a different intake block to mount the carburetor and all that stuff. It's just a little different. But they were derived from the same basic set of cases and all that. It's very much the same. Did a video on that a long time ago. Now that's a totally stock 262. In the 154, it's a snappy little bugger because it's got some screwdriver holes pounded into the muffler. But that's quieter, quite a bit heavier though, because it has a fancier air filter arrangement, stuff like that. And the 154, 254 are little hot rods. So I think I'm going to load up that other one with gas and run that today. The 61 272, the chain's kind of dull. But other than that, it's running good. They've been sitting up in the shop all winter long, so this is the first start for pretty much all the saws except for the 262. And that 154, it did all right, you know. So I'm going to go get that and do another cookie so we have a direct comparison in the same size wood. And we'll see what the difference between a 154 and a 262 is, power-wise. And then we're going to get back to work. So yeah, these are pretty much in the same family. They're both small mount bar and chain. And the big difference on setup between these two saws right here is I've got the Oregon speed cut arrangement on this one, which is a 325, and they cut really good. It's, believe it or not, it's a semi chisel, you know. And on the 262, it has a 3/8 setup with the Husqvarna Rancher bar, which by the way I like because it has that 6 rivet tip right there. They last, but you know, in terms of chain speed, they run the same kind of RPMs, and this is probably as much about the different bar chain combination as it is about the power of the saw. 54cc, 62, long rod, so it has more torque. This one's a little more of a lemon RPM related saw. And so let's just let them run and rip, and this is roughly the same diameter so we can see one versus the other. But like I said, this is as much about the bar and chain as it is the actual power, because power wise they're similar. They're not the same, but they're similar. That'll give you an idea. I could lean that one out. It's a hot day. Get a little more power out of it. Maybe I'll just do that for comparison. It'll be about tune and chain. Sounds a little bit better. Probably it's going to do a little bit better in the cut. And while I was at it, I added a little bit of tune to the 61 to see if I can get it to rev a little more. See what it does. It's a hot day, that's why it matters. So what I just finished doing with the tuning screw, I'm going to have to undo in the fall, and I don't know whether or not it's going to be measurable. Let's go back to the 154. That's as fast as either one of them. I think it's about chain sharpness and chain speed today more than it is about motor and power. But where I was going with this is all these saws all of them, all 3 of them, pretty much all the ones of that era, they're useful. So if you're a collector and a hobbyist and you're looking for saws that you can actually do something with after you bring them back to life, all those saws are that. They're not that heavy. Husky was really the first ones to go to the lightweight saws. I mean, even my favorite John threads were heavy. Homelites were beasts, except for that solo based one, which was so light, but I don't know if they lasted. And until steel got into the 038, 044, stuff like that, those things were just heavy. Big old 70s era stills were just heavy. You know, Husky really was the revolution. See the exit of that muffler? Tends to blow the chips away from the work. That's why I do that. That's CP 285 he's going underneath right now.